KFSR 90.7 FM, and CMAC, Comcast 93 and AT&T 99, present the Central Valley Ledger, formerly San Joaquin Spotlight. Tune in to 90.7 FM or Comcast 93 and AT&T 99. I'm your host, Sevog Tatiosian. Welcome to the Central Valley Ledger, formerly San Joaquin Spotlight. Our guest is from the United Way of Fresno County. She is, the United Way of Fresno and Madera counties. Her name is Lindsay Callahan, and she's the new CEO. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Spock.
First of all, congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor.
United Way is a fantastic organization. I'm a little biased, but I used to work there, but again, we did some remarkable things. So welcome to a great team over there.
Thank you.
And I just announced it as United Way of Fresno County, then I corrected myself. It's United Way of Fresno and Madera counties.
That's right. United Way of Fresno County was asked to expand our purview and take on Madera County, which is really a perfect fit for United Way of Fresno County because so many of our services go across the two counties, and plus there's so much need in Madera too. So,
before we get into United Way, let's talk a little bit about you. So you talk about your education and background.
So I am a local product. I grew up here, wasn't born here, but I consider myself a Valley girl for sure. Product of Clovis schools, and I left for a number of years when I went to UC Davis and then Sacramento State to get my master's degree, but came back because I really love this valley. My family is all here, and my heart has always been here in the valley.
You did some work in the assembly, state assembly. Talk a little bit about that.
So I fell in love with politics and public policy when I was a senior in high school. But I thought I was going to go to UC Davis to study psychology. Spent about a quarter studying psychology and realized that my heart was in the state capitol. And I actually took a full quarter off and worked in the state capitol and absolutely fell even more in love with the idea of changing and shaping the way that everything happens in people's lives, and really having an influence on the political process. So I worked for the chief clerk for a full quarter and learned the inside of the process, got to meet lots of great people, got to sit on the other side of the desk actually in the assembly all the time. So learned it from the inside out, and then went on to be selected as an assembly fellow, a Jesse Marvin Unruh fellow, and worked for Speaker Robert Hertzberg, which was also an amazing experience.
So for people who haven't been to the state capitol, or for people who haven't had the opportunity to do behind the scenes stuff in the state capitol, why would you suggest, or would you suggest they do it?
Oh, I would absolutely suggest to do it. In fact, if you are someone who is even at all interested in politics or are just looking for the type of experience that will shape your life, apply for a fellowship through Sacramento State. It pays a little bit, but more than that, you get life's experiences that are just so invaluable. Many of my life's experience life's lessons came from the state capitol and what I learned at the state capitol.
Talk about the relationships. I know we're going into an area here.
Sure.
But all this has probably shaped you in your role that you are in today. So talk about the relationships that you had and you built out there at Sacramento.
You know, you're working so hard and so intensely. You build relationships with the people that you're working with, but you also build relationships with members, many of whom from the time that I was there are very much termed out at this point, but have gone on to do other things in lobbying and so on and so forth. And really more than that, it was an opportunity for me to really figure out what I was passionate about. And when I worked for Speaker Hertzberg, I worked in his legislative unit, so I carried bills on human services and consumer protection, and also some education bills. And talk about full circle, we're right back to that spot now in my life. And so really having those mentors who have been in the building for so long and have seen all of the different phases and who can kind of give you an overview of this is what education policy looks like one decade to the next, and there's really nothing new under the sun. That was an incredible experience for me.
Well, and you carried what you did up there to here. How did you because, in reading your background, you had some relationships with Office of Education. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. When Speaker Hertzberg actually was going to hire me to be his human services consultant. I was very, very young and was told I was too young to do that job and was ready to take it on. And instead, I kind of took this left-hand turn and decided to go work for an organization called the Foundation Consortium for Children and Youth. I knew nothing about foundations. I'd never worked with a foundation before. I just knew that they had money and gave money away, and very quickly learned a lot about foundations and had the opportunity to work on a major public-private partnership between 18 large foundations in California and the California Department of Education. And it was really a nice nexus for me with what I had learned in the state capitol about building relationships and how you really kind of get people to compromise and you get win-win situations. And also how you promote a program and take a program to the next level. It was a way for me to get deeper into a program. And so we worked on supporting after-school programs for quite some time.
After-school programs, how important are they in shaping a child's life? How important are they to a community?
The reason that I loved after school and the reason I took the job that I took instead of staying in the Capitol was because I saw after school as a platform. I really saw the need for after school at a number of different levels. Not only is it an opportunity for a child to have some type of experience in the 3 hours after school. That's kind of the basic, right? You want to have some experience, but it can be so much more than that. You have opportunities to mentor, you have opportunities to connect with caring adults, you have opportunities to connect with your community, and that's just for the child. For us as a community, we then are investing in the student, and parents also are getting some place for their child to go after school so that they don't have to worry. And as a mother of 3, I know that that's so critical, the feeling of, oh, the bell's about to ring and what's going to happen with my child now, and are they going to go home alone, or do they have a safe place to be? And knowing that your child has a safe place to be it really does make you a much more productive worker. It really, truly does.
So the announcement comes out that United Way, when the announcement came out, was it United Way of Madera and Fresno?
Yes.
Fresno, Madera?
Yes,
okay.
It was both counties at that point.
Because that's fairly new. That's why
it is a relatively new change.
So the announcement comes out that United Way is looking for a new CEO. Michael Alexander has retired, and there was an interim CEO. So you look at that announcement. When did you decide, I'm going for this? Or was it just instant?
I knew that the announcement was coming out, but I was so busy. I couldn't even focus on that. And in fact, at that time, and I told my board of directors this, so I'm not divulging anything, I was being pursued by other organizations to come work for them. So I wasn't paying attention to the job announcement that closely. And I sort of had someone whisper in my ear and say, you know what, you need to take a closer look at this. And I did a lot of soul searching to decide what I wanted to do. And quite frankly, there were several different paths. And I've had all these moments in my life where I could go a certain direction and have found my most success when I take the left-hand turn and the road less traveled. Just to be cliched, but that's truly what it is. That was what happened when I took the job with the Foundation Consortium instead of staying on the speaker's staff. Everyone very much poo-pooed that.
Well, and you could have been successful. I mean, I hate to interrupt your thought process, but if you would have stayed with the speaker, you could have been successful doing that. But, you come to do the left-hand turn, but look at what's opened up for you as well. And we got you back in the Valley, so thank you for coming back.
I got to come back to the Valley. So it was truly one of those moments where I had to say, okay, what really am I called to do? And I will never forget being at a conference and hearing Gina Davis say, never sit on your superpowers. And I had the realization that I had been sitting on my superpowers for some time. Because we all have superpowers, right? Everyone has their own superpowers. Everyone has some kind of talent, some gift that they need to use. And so if you're not using your gift and if you're not taking full advantage of the gifts that you've been given, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So I realized that I could go into private business for myself. I could make a lot more money consulting. I could do a lot of different things. I had opportunities, but this was a perfect fit for me, and this called to my desire to be a leader in our community, to my desire to really make a difference in the community, because that's what United Way is about, is making a difference in the community. And I knew that there was a dynamic staff there, and I knew that there was a great board, and I knew that there was an amazing amount of potential in the organization that could be tapped.
So you get the job, and you're supposed to start. I know that you were supposed to start a certain day, but you were already doing work before your day. So
I was.
I mean, as you're in this new role, any things that you're learning in the process?
Oh, I am learning a lot. It is definitely a fire hose. I knew about United Way, but I didn't know United Way intimately. So I am drinking from a fire hose and trying to absorb as much information as possible. I've worked with a lot of umbrella national type organizations, and in fact, part of my role in after school was not only working with national kind of affiliations or associations, but also running affiliations and associations here in California and building kind of alliances and networks. So I'm familiar with those structures. United Way Worldwide offers a lot of support. So that's amazing. United Way California also has a lot to provide. And frankly, my staff has been doing just a ton of work over the last several years in the community. So just really learning what we're doing and trying to wrap my arms around what that looks like. And what I'm chomping at the bit for is, and what's next. And what the next chapter of the United Way of Fresno-Madera counties, what that will look like.
I have to ask you about funding. This is a tough area for nonprofits because the funding stream they're there, but not as much as they would be in the Los Angeles area, the San Francisco area, the Sacramento area. But the need is so much more. So talk a little bit about, I mean, it sounds like you're very energized about this position, but did that cross your mind at all about the whole fundraising aspect of this organization?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that funding and making the ends meet is what keeps leaders in nonprofit organizations up at night, among other things. And I've been fortunate enough to work for organizations that have a solid track record and have a solid work plan and have a solid mission that is fundable. But sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes we have ebbs and flows. And so what's at the core of being successful in all of this is really kind of two things from my perspective. And one is creativity and innovation. You have to find new ways to make money. And the second one is really about creating structures that will last over time. And if you aren't creating structures that will last over time, whether it's your board, your staff structures, whatever it might be, you're really going to struggle because you're going to spend so much time having to redo things over and over and over again. So that's kind of my vision for sustainability.
How has your education helped you or shaped you for this position, if at all?
So I think that my education varied as it has been. I mean, part of my education came from the halls at UC Davis when I got my degree in political science. I also had an incredible education at Sacramento State, which was completely different from my master's program. But frankly, much of my education has came in my internships, in my fellowships, and I still am being educated now. So you kind of take it in the pieces that it comes, and there's the real world experience that you get from working. I believe it is key to all of this, which is why things like going out and trying things, going out and job shadowing, going out and actually doing jobs, even if you are still in school and just spending that time, that's where real education comes from. What I got at UC Davis was an incredible benchmark education that featured analysis and research and the ability to really break down problems in a way that makes it more manageable. But what I got in the halls of the Capitol was this practical education, an ability to, there were many times when I had to get in front of committees for the speaker because he was so busy, and so I had to actually testify on his behalf and present his bills. So the ability to go up and stand in front of someone and get yelled at by a committee chair, that kind of, that seals the deal. That's education.
By the way, you're going to go in front, by the way, you're going up in front of this committee today. Good luck.
Go on.
Go on. You know, I believe a lot in volunteerism. I believe a lot that, in internships, I think can open a lot of doors, but are so important for people to learn from these things. What advice do you have for maybe a high school student who has a couple of extra hours of time in their hands and really doesn't know how to fill it?
Connect with a local nonprofit that needs support and just get in there and start doing work. Whatever the work is, start doing work. Because that's really what it's all about, is starting. So much of what I have done and my success has been due to relationships. The people that I've connected with, the people that I've learned from, the people that have supported me. I mean, I obviously just came from the Fresno County Office of Education, and I've worked with that organization for a number of years and worked with Jim Iovino, Superintendent Iovino, for a number of years, and I count him as a mentor and a cheerleader, and it's because of those connections that you make and those relationships that really drive you forward. So start finding people to connect to, start finding people who can then be your champions and your advocates in the future. And those connections are long lasting, especially in this community, and you really have to have those connections to be successful.
You, with your educational background and your experience, you could have easily been not only in Sacramento, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Francisco, but you're here in Fresno. Why?
Because this is my community. You know, I lived in Sacramento for a decade, and I love Sacramento. When I was leaving Sacramento, when the Foundation Consortium was closing, I had lots of job offers for the Bay Area, and unfortunately there wasn't a bullet train to take me back and forth from Fresno to San Francisco. And, you know, I've really never considered leaving this town now that I'm back. My heart's here, my family's here. My family's made a large investment of their time and life into this community, and there's so much need in this community, and that's part of what the draw is, but really it's the people in this community that I think are so amazing, and the spirit of this community. Fresno is an amazing place, and it's highly underrated, and I love it. And a lot of times when I'm in the Sacramento and the Bay Area, and people say, well, why do you live in Fresno? Why would you want to live in Fresno? I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Yeah. So why would I want to live anywhere else? This is where I belong, and this is where I love to be.
Talk a little bit about some of your goals with United Way of Fresno County. Oh, Fresno and Madera. See, I used to work there, and I'm messing up on that. But, you know, United Way of Fresno and Madera counties, what is your goal or some of your goals for that organization?
You know, most of my goals for the organization are really about the community. My overarching goal is really around making the community a better place. And of course, that's kind of a generic thing to say. But when we start thinking about the poverty that's in our towns, when we start thinking about the challenges that students have every day when they go to school, when we start thinking about poor health and all the different outcomes that are just, there's so much need, and there's so many places that the United Way could probably plug in. My goal for United Way is to figure out where we can be the best benefit and where we can do the most good with our time, money, and resources. And so really in my thinking, there's sort of this continuum that the United Way sits on. And being a new CEO and president, I get to say this and hopefully not get in trouble, but you know, it really, there's this sort of immediate need that we have to fill. So people need to have clothes, they need housing, they need food. We need to do all those things. And we facilitate that, we fund nonprofits that do that, and we also do some of that work ourselves. But then on this other end, there has to be some kind of lasting change to the systems and the policies that put our families in situations that aren't beneficial, that don't offer any opportunity. So how do we work on both ends of the spectrum to really make a difference? Fill this immediate need, but also make these systems change so that we won't have so much immediate need. That's what my real vision is.
Policy. You've worked on it in Sacramento. You mentioned it here today. Is there opportunity for policy changes, and how hard or how difficult would it be to change a policy that's been set for a long time?
It's never easy, and there are lots of theories that I learned at UC Davis that I could talk to you about. That are actually, most of them are very true, but not all that interesting for anyone who isn't a policy wonk like me. So I won't bore your audience, but changing policy is like anything else, right? You need to have some kind of catalyst. You need to have a reason for change, and you need to have champions. And I'm going to be really working, my goal is, and I'm looking forward to working with local electeds from this area to start being champions and to look at the United Way's policy platform that includes everything from education to health to income, and about how we can start influencing that. And whether it's about funding the right programs and getting money into the right programs that make the most change, or it's about changing policies just a little bit that will make such a big difference for the families that need it. That's what we're going to be working on. So it's not easy. It's like fundraising. It takes time. There's lots of parallels between public policy change and fundraising. It's all about relationships, and it takes time, but it's doable. It really is doable. We just need to prioritize.
So tell us a little bit more about why people should support the United Way. So here I am. I don't know if I should make a donation or not. I do make donations, by the way, but say I don't. And I'm sitting there, and I don't know whether to make a donation or not. Why should I?
Here's a great opportunity that United Way presents us. It's an organization that has lots of different things going on internally, but we also have organizations that we support. Part of my goal is really building nonprofit capacity and going back to our roots of the United Way being a resource to the community. We want to be a resource to the community. We have a huge building with lots of space that we can rent out and provide space for nonprofits. We have resources internally in marketing and accounting and so on and so forth that we can provide resources for. And in turn, we actually provide financial resources to nonprofits. So United Way is a place that you can go to contribute to support other nonprofits, but also support some really viable programs that have been along and are tried and tested, and two of which are our voluntary income tax assistance program and our 211 line. And we need support from the community. These are programs that help thousands of people in our communities. VITA is the voluntary income tax assistance. VITA is a program that offers free income tax filing for anyone who makes less than $62,000 a year. Free, absolutely free, no catch. It's actually free. That type of income building is really important for our communities, and we will continue to offer that service. We also need support for our 211 line, and many people don't know what 211 is. It's an amazing, really non-emergency phone line. So if you have an issue, a question, whatever it might be, you call 211. Just 211. It's not 911. And that's the thing, is that sometimes people will call 911 thinking, I have a problem, and it's not an emergency. And so this is a non-emergency line. We staff it. It's 24/7. You can call any time of the day. We staff it in multiple languages. I think it's something like 170 languages. So it's an amazing resource to the community, but the community needs to contribute to it, and the community really needs to donate to it.
What's a typical day for you like? I know that, this is a new role for you, and as we were trying to set up this interview, Robert is like, well, can we bump it a little bit? Because she's got a meeting before then. And I said, sure, anything, because I really wanted you on this program because I want people to learn about you, because as, I was looking at your background, I was very impressed because there's a lot of stuff there that we didn't talk about today. But talk a little bit about what your day is like.
Well, I've got 3 kids, so my day starts with my kids.
Very early, I imagine.
Very early. And they're my joy. They keep me centered. So my day starts with my kids for sure. And I'm at work very early in the morning, and most of the time my staff beats me there no matter how early I get there. And my day is really about juggling. I am a self-professed master multitasker, so it's coming from all different sides. And as the leader of the organization, my goal is to be accessible to staff. As a leader in the community, my goal is also to be accessible to the community. As being responsible to my board, I'm also accessible to my board. Oh. So it's sort of like this. We're scheduled down to 30 minutes. We're usually trying to juggle different things around. Today I had to schedule myself to actually have time to do some reading so I could get that done. So I'm calendared to the hilt, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's lots of meetings on my calendar. I'm going to be out in the community as much as I possibly can. So I'm bouncing from meeting to meeting all across town. Good thing I have a car that gets great gas mileage. And just really trying to meet folks and really listening to what the need is, and both from my staff internally and externally. And that's really what my day looks like, is my phone ringing, emails going off, and going in between meeting to meeting and making sure that I'm trying to piece all this together to make the best of this, really.
We are running out of time this week on the program, but what would you like the audience members to know about you? I mean, is there something that maybe we didn't talk about today that you want people to know about you?
Gosh, we talked about a lot about me. You know, I've been told for a long time, actually probably 16 or 17 years, that I was too young to do what it is that I'm doing. And one of the things that I want people to know, particularly young people out there, is that you can do anything you set your mind to. If you do enough research, if you prep yourself enough, you can really do anything you set your mind to. And never let anybody tell you that you're not good enough, that you shouldn't be doing something. You can do it. I guarantee it. I'm a product of the Central Valley, and I love this town. I love this area, and no matter how young you are or how old you are or how different you are, that's kind of the key to all of this, is that we all have our own story, right? We all have our own thing that we bring to the table. And so bring it. Bring it.
Lindsay Callahan, thank you so much for coming on, making time for us. And, you know, you bouncing from meeting to meeting, but thank you so much for making the time to be here today.
Thank you so much.
That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. To the volunteer crew that made this production and every production possible, thank you. We couldn't do this program without you. They're actually in the studio now as we speak. To the audience members listening to this broadcast on 90.7 FM KFSR Fresno, or watching us on the CMAC channel, Comcast 93 and AT&T 99, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this program with Lindsay Callahan, the new CEO of United Way of Fresno and Madera Counties. I got it that time. Tune in next week to a new edition.